Ben Simmons has single-handedly kept NBA free agency news alive. For months now, NBA fans have been wondering when Ben Simmons will get traded from the 76ers, and with training camp starting very soon, we still don't have an answer to that question. Before I discuss when Ben Simmons will get traded, let's briefly summarize how we got here. Ben Simmons was the #1 pick back in 2016 out of LSU. While he missed the first year of his career with a foot injury, he immediately made a huge impact the second he was able to play in his second year. Prior to Ben Simmons' second year in the league, the Sixers were trusting the process, meaning they were putting out mediocre talent on the court with the hopes that tanking their season would lead to drafting a stud. In his second year in the league, Ben Simmons led the Sixers to 52 wins and the 3 seed in the East while putting up 16 points, 8 boards, and 8 assists a game, and taking home Rookie of the Year honors. Ben Simmons completely took the world by storm and drew comparisons to LeBron. While comparing Simmons to LeBron sounds laughable in 2021, at the time it made a lot of sense because, like LeBron, Ben is an oversized ball handler who excels at attacking the rim and setting up his teammates. In fact, LeBron himself told Ben Simmons in his rookie year that he had the opportunity to be better than him. After a successful regular season, Simmons led the Sixers past the Miami Heat in the first round, but underperformed as the Sixers lost in the second round to the Boston Celtics. He even had a game where he scored just 1 measly point. While it was a terrible performance, it was largely overlooked because Ben Simmons was still coming off a good year, and it was believed that he had superstar upside. Unfortunately, in the 3 years since that playoff series against the Celtics, the same pattern has emerged where Ben Simmons performs really well in the regular season, only to disappoint in the postseason, whether that's getting hurt or just not showing up in big games. Simmons also hasn't improved much as a player over the years. On the less glamorous end of the court, he's become one of the game's best defenders, but on offense, he still hasn't developed a jump shot despite being in the league for 5 years now. Last year's playoffs appears to be the beginning of the end of Big Ben in Philly. Despite being the 1 seed and having home court advantage, the Sixers were eliminated by the Hawks in the second round. Simmons averaged just 10 points per game in the series and shot a horrible 33% from the free throw line. He also flat out refused to shoot the ball in the fourth quarter. He had one terrible play in the fourth quarter of Game 7 that everyone remembers, where he got by Gallinari, and despite only the 6-foot Trae Young standing between him and the rim, he passed it to Matisse Thybulle instead of dunking it. This may just be one play, but this one play was a microcosm of Ben Simmons' entire series against the Hawks. He has the ability to take over the game, but he sadly lacks scoring aggression, and this has been a problem since Ben's rookie year. To add insult to injury, Doc Rivers showed his lack of confidence in Ben Simmons in the post-game interviews after the series.
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
The Sixers front office was clearly at their wits' end with Ben Simmons after that series because just a few weeks later, they were shopping Ben Simmons to other teams. While the Sixers are clearly looking to get rid of Ben Simmons, they haven't traded him yet because no team has met their trade demands. Over the summer, it was reported that the Sixers were looking for a James Harden level return for Ben. In the Harden trade, the Rockets got back 4 first-round picks and 2 young studs in Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, so Philly was likely looking for a similar return to that. Ben Simmons was never at Harden's level, and if anything, his value would be lower after the Hawks series, so this trade demand was ambitious to say the least. As a result, the Sixers have not gotten close to getting a deal done. Other teams have interest, but no team is willing to reach Philly's asking price. Since he knows that his team has given up on him, Ben Simmons has personally demanded to be traded and reportedly will not show up to training camp. He also reportedly ghosted his teammates over the season. This is meant to put pressure on the Sixers front office to trade him, but as of right now, a Ben Simmons trade doesn't appear to be imminent. There's offers on the table, but nobody is sending Philly an offer that the Sixers front office likes, so it makes sense why Ben has yet to be traded, because the Sixers front office needs to get a good return from him. Ben Simmons' trade value may be at an all-time low, but he's still a 3-time All-Star and 2-time All-Defensive player. He's definitely worth a good package, so Philly is not about to sell low. After extending Embiid, the 76ers are still looking to contend, so they're going to want talented players in return that can help them compete for a championship immediately. Ben Simmons claims he won't go to training camp, but it looks like the Sixers are calling his bluff. If Ben refuses to show up, the Sixers will simply suspend him without pay, and we all know Ben doesn't want to miss out on his $31 million a year salary. The Sixers still have leverage with 4 years left on his contract, and they're wisely using it. There's no reason to trade Ben for an underwhelming return when they could simply wait for a better offer to become available. So back to the main question of the video, I believe Ben likely gets traded at some point before the NBA trade deadline. With a few weeks before the NBA season starts, every team in the league has made off-season moves and feels confident in their additions. But once the season starts and a team gets off to a bad start, they'll likely look to make a trade to increase their playoff odds, and this is when Philly can get their best return for Ben Simmons. For example, the Timberwolves are a team that I could see eventually pulling the trigger on a Ben Simmons trade. This is a team that has made the playoffs just once in the last 16 years. They have an all-star player in Karl Anthony Towns that will become increasingly disgruntled the more his team continues to lose. So far, Minnesota has been unwilling to include Cat, Anthony Edwards, or D'Angelo Russell in a Ben Simmons trade, but that could change if the Wolves get off to another miserable start this season. Let's say Minnesota starts the year off with a horrible record of 5-20. The team could get desperate to save their playoff hopes and be willing to include D'Lo in a Ben Simmons trade. I actually think this is a trade that could work for all parties. The Wolves are a team with a lot of shot creators, but a horrible team defense, while Cat, Edwards, and D'Angelo Russell is a nice trio on paper. Neither of these guys are good on defense, which has contributed to the Wolves' futility. Simmons will be a perfect fit next to Cat and Anthony Edwards because while Ben does the defending and facilitating, Cat and Edwards can do the scoring. The Wolves also have another high-level shot creator in Malik Beasley, who's coming off a year averaging 20 points per game. As we can clearly see, the Wolves have offense for days. They just need an elite defender like Ben Simmons. I believe Ben Simmons can get many to the playoffs, but as currently constructed, I'm not sure the Wolves are a playoff team in the loaded Western Conference. As for the Sixers, D'Angelo Russell is the point guard that they've needed for years now. They actually wanted to draft him back in 2015, but the Lakers took him with the second pick. D'Angelo Russell is a former All-Star. He's an elite point guard that can create offense in the half court in a way that Ben Simmons simply can't. He can also space the floor unlike Ben Simmons with the 3-ball. He would be a much better fit with Embiid and increase the Sixers' title odds. This isn't a trade that would happen now, but if the Wolves start off the year poorly, I believe it's a possibility. Of course, this is just a hypothetical, but you get the point. If a trade does happen, it will likely occur at some point after the season has started, and a desperate team that has gotten off to a bad start is willing to give Philly a good offer. By the trade deadline, there's always teams that are looking to make additions to improve. The 76ers just need to remain patient. They have no reason to buy low and trade Ben for nothing or for an underwhelming return. Other teams that want Ben Simmons, like the Wolves, are banking on the Sixers taking less than they desired, but the Sixers are aware that they have the upper hand and they're using it. With multiple years still left on Ben's contract, they can simply just hold out and wait for a team to send them an offer they like. Again, If Ben decides to not show up for training camp, they'll suspend him, and not getting paid will eventually motivate Ben Simmons to come back to work. So I do believe Ben Simmons will still get traded, but it won't happen until shortly after the start of the NBA season. But anyway guys, that's going to be it for me. Tell me in the comments when you think Ben Simmons will get traded and what the Sixers will get in return for him. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and have a great rest of your day.